Hello again, and welcome to Caerphilly Works, our fortnightly podcast aimed at bringing you news and information all about getting into work in Caerphilly. So, within Caerphilly Council, we have several programmes that support the borough's residents into work, with each of them specialising in a specific area. The Nurture, Equip, Thrive or NET programme, however, is a little bit different from all the others. So today, I'm joined by Ian and Kelly, who are going to tell us a little bit about how NET supports the residents of Caerphilly to find work. So, Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about why NET is different from all the other programmes?
Yeah, so the NET project is a bit different to other employability-based projects within the council because we are primarily based in supporting people who are already in work, whereas a lot of other projects are for people who are unemployed. So we focus on people who are underemployed. And, the aim is to gain them additional employment or increased hours or increased pay or change a career.
So with that, is there like a minimum or maximum amount of hours they have to be working to get support from NET?
Maximum hours would be 36.
Is there a minimum to that at all now?
Yeah, one really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's the eligibility for NET then? So if someone's coming through and they are, working 1 to 30 hours, and they want to get help from, is there anything kind of else that they need to have to be eligible for NET?
Well, apart from working in Caerphilly or living in Caerphilly, that is the only stipulation. As long as they work part-time between 1 and 36 hours and they work or live in Caerphilly, then they would be eligible for the project.
One thing I know of obviously with NET is an extra conditionality where if you have a work-limited health condition, you don't need to be, you can be over 30 hours, is that right?
Oh, it could be over 36 hours then, yeah, if there's a work-limiting health condition.
Yeah, so what would you define as a work-limiting health condition?
A work-limiting health condition would be a condition that would limit the type of work that you could do. Now, that could be back problems, for instance, if you are in a physical job that requires a lot of heavy lifting and things like that, but you've got back problems, then working in that environment is only going to make it worse. So we would consider that to be a work-limiting health condition. But work-limiting health conditions can be anything from physical and as well as mental. So anxiety, for instance, if you're in a job that requires you to meet a lot of people or talk in front of lots of people presenting information, but you suffer from a lot of anxiety, I would class that as a work-limiting health condition because it means that it's really difficult or limits the work that you can do because of the condition that you have.
So it's basically underlining if you have a condition at all that's going to stop you doing the job that you want, that's classed as a work-limited health condition, and you can support that person with that.
That's right, and it doesn't matter whether they work full-time or not, if that's the case, because I think the point of the project is that if they've got a work-limited health condition, then either we can help them with that condition so that they can do their job efficiently, or we can find them a different career path that their condition doesn't limit the work that they can achieve.
So I guess with that, something like you mentioned, if someone's got a back problem and they've been working maybe in a manual labouring kind of job all their life, like factory working or labouring, you can kind of work with them to get them a job that involves maybe, they can sit down or take it a little bit easier and they haven't got to do all that kind of manual lifting.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a participant at the moment who has that exact problem. They've got back problems at the moment. They have always worked in sort of a factory type of environment, a warehouse type of environment, which does require a lot of lifting and a lot of walking around and stuff. And so what we're doing at the moment is trying to change his career into something that he believes he can do and enjoys, but it wouldn't affect his back issues, and he's looking at trying to become a driving instructor at the moment. Okay,
so obviously with that, I guess he needs to probably retrain.
Absolutely, yeah.
And get extra qualifications. So is that something you can both help people with in that sense?
Yeah, with retraining and qualifications, we would refer on to working skills primarily, which work sort of alongside us, don't they?
Yeah, they do. If there's any courses that they require, that's exactly what we do. When it comes to driving instructing, he had the idea that he wanted to do it. So what we did is sort of researched it to find out exactly how you go about doing that. I mean, in this particular instance, there are companies out there that will train you up, but it is quite expensive. So then we start looking into whether or not there's any different fundings, ways of getting the money back and things like that, how much money you're going to earn. It's all important research to decide whether or not this is something that he really wants to do. And then once we've decided upon that, he's decided that is what he wants to do and he wants to go about doing that, then I would help him to make sure he gets on the list and speaks to the company and make sure he asks the right questions to make sure that he's doing the right thing.
Brilliant. So again, that's working alongside another program that we have, which is working skills for adults, to get them access to those qualifications and support them that way as well. I know another part of obviously with NET is supporting people who are not utilising the qualifications that they already have. I know I've used some, examples before of how you've helped people in that way, but can you give like an overview of how that actually works?
Yeah, one of my previous participants was a psychology graduate. Since when she was in uni, she worked within like a restaurant just part-time while she was studying. And since leaving uni, she just remained in that job. She just felt like she was sort of stuck in a rut. So she came onto the NET project for support. And then we worked alongside her for quite a while and for various vacancies linked to her degree. So she did, I think it was psychology and criminology. So a lot of the jobs we looked for were based within the police and psychology-based things, and then eventually got her a job within that industry. So that was the overall aim for her. So it wasn't that she needed like retraining or more qualifications. It was just that she needed help in finding that career route.
So a little bit of that was a little bit of confidence and motivation, really. Have you kind of shown her that you can use the qualification you've gone to school to get?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's a large part of our job, is to make people understand and believe that they can do what it is that they feel like they should be doing or want to do. Because I think a lot of people are in careers that they don't particularly enjoy. They just do it as a means to an end, and they're not really sure how to get out of that and to change and to go into something that they want. And it is a big step for a lot of people. And I think a lot of our job is sort of making them believe that step is possible and how they're going to achieve that.
Yeah, and it's that whole thing of giving them the aspiration to do more and not to think that they have to stay in what they're doing. If they fancy a change, or maybe they've gone into a job just to get a little bit of money, and that's not exactly what they want to do for the rest of their life. Just make sure they're financially stable. And then once they're there, obviously it's coming to you and getting the support to maybe get the job that they actually want to be in for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not an easy step to do sometimes, but this is. I think what we do is make people realise that there is more to life than just getting by.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, on the weekend I actually had a chat to a gentleman who's actually working with you now, Ian.
Oh, right.
He was working with Communities Work Plus for a while. He was in some financial hardship and needed to get a job ASAP. So they kind of worked with him to make sure that he had money coming in. So they got him a job, which he was happy with. Then he wanted something a little bit closer to home because his wife was unwell as well. And I think now he's actually working with you. Now he's financially stable in the job to get the job that's closer to home and works for him in a better way, really.
Yes, he's quite a new participant, actually. We're looking at getting him something that's a little bit easier because he's starting to think about his retirement because it's not that far away. And so he wants something that he's going to be able to do until he retires. And because he's in quite a physically demanding job at the moment, he doesn't feel like he's going to be able to do that until retirement. So he's trying to get out now and get something that's a bit less physical, but still is something that he can do within his skill set.
So yeah, it just shows again that it's that support, like all the projects kind of working together to get someone into work. So I know you've given like loads of examples there about how you kind of support someone, but how do you initially access the NET projects? If somebody wanted to get on and actually, get support from yourselves, how would they, get in touch and get in contact?
There are lots of ways they can get in contact with us, Craig. They can email the Working Skills email address, or they can contact us directly via phone. They can go through the job centre. They can go through the triage. All of these places can refer straight on to us. They can ring us up directly because you can have self-referrals with the NET project. It doesn't have to be referred by another party. Once they contact us and we check that they are eligible for the project, we would initially make an appointment to fill out all of the initial paperwork and do an assessment tool. The assessment tool is a bit of a personality questionnaire where we can use that to create an action plan. And then we would work on the action plan to make sure that, we're doing our job and making sure that we're doing what they need on a weekly or fortnightly basis, which is usually up to the participant because we're very flexible. And depending on how desperate they are or how often they want to speak to us, we will make the effort to try and do that.
So I guess with people who come through the program, they don't really necessarily need to know what career they want to go into. It could just be that they're not enjoying what they're doing at the moment and they fancy a change. So then would you work with them to kind of work out what would be the best career for them or something that's to try out?
I've got a couple of people like that at the minute on my caseload. In fact, the majority of my caseload is like that at the minute. Basically, yeah, we would meet with them, look at their previous experience, their skills, but also their interests, so things that they like to do in their spare time. And I tend to do something online, like a skills quiz thing. So it would assess their skills and their interests and come up with a whole range of different careers or career ideas. And then we would just sit with them, talk through them, see if it's something that they would be interested in, and then look at the routes of how they would get into that type of employment.
Yeah, and I think one of the sort of skills that we have is because we've worked in many different sections with many different people, then if somebody's got an idea of what kind of career they're looking at, then we can give them a lot of insight to that career as to how it works, which quite often they don't know. And once they got that information, they can make an informed decision as to whether that's something they really want to do or not. And if they come with us with a job that we've never heard of or don't know how it works, then we would make it a point to find that out for them, because we want to know as well. You know, the more careers that we understand how they work, the better. And then once we've done that and we've talked through it, they can decide whether or not that is something they want to do or not.
What about someone who's self-employed? Can they access NET?
If they're self-employed, it is possible to come onto the NET project, although the NET project wasn't designed for self-employed people. The problem with being self-employed is that we can't prove how many hours you do, so it's very difficult to say whether or not you work part-time or full-time, because if you're working for yourself, you can do as many hours as you want to. So as a general rule, no, we can't really work with people that are self-employed. However, if they do have a work-limiting health condition, then that would override the fact that they're self-employed. And as long as we prove that they are working, but they have a work-limiting health condition, then we would be able to help them. And if somebody's working in a job that wants to become self-employed, that is definitely something that we do and we do help with. So that's a different thing. If somebody's thinking about becoming self-employed, I would definitely say, give us a ring, because that's something we can do. If they're already self-employed, then they would need to have a work-limiting health condition in order for us to work with them. But it's still worth ringing up, because even if we can't work with them, we've got a lot of signposting and people that we work with as well closely that we could always move them on to or give them advice about.
Well, that's great to know, obviously, if people want to become self-employed, and if they're in work and thinking, I'd rather work for myself, there's also that option for them to actually go off and do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've helped quite a few people set up their own businesses in all sorts of different fields.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you both for obviously coming along and having the chat today. Lots of really good information here about NET. So if everybody wants to access the NET project, they can get in touch directly. I mean, they can call the main triage line on 01443 864 227, or find us all over social media at Caerphilly Regen. Reach out, send a message, and find out how we can support you. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So, as always, you can contact us by calling 01443 864 227, emailing communityregen@caerphilly.gov.uk, or by finding us on social media at Caerphilly Regen. This podcast is now available on a variety of podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!
The Caerphilly Works podcast is a collaboration between Communities for Work, Communities for Work Plus, Bridges into Work 2, Inspire to Work, Working Skills for Adults, and NET. The Communities for Work Employment Support Team is funded by the Welsh Government and the European Social Fund, working in partnership with Communities and Job Centre Plus.